we begin, I wanted to say thank y'all so much for letting me come to intern here with y'all. It's our last week, which is kind of bittersweet with everything ending and from senior year this year. So I really appreciate y'all all have been a mentor for me this year, and I've learned so much, and I'm really appreciative that y'all have taken me in to be a part of y'all's little Katy Vet Clinic family. So thank you.
We enjoyed you being here.
Definitely.
Oh, thank you. Well, moo says the cow, oink says the pig, oh no, there's antibiotics in the agricultural industry, says the uneducated consumer. Well, the agriculture industry is more than just an industry that serves our basic needs. Agriculture is a way of life that supports the entire world, and without all the government regulations and all certain things, it could potentially cure world hunger and fix that minor problem that we have in our world. Well, when it comes to agriculture, many people think, it's just food. Well, it's a lot more than that. There's so much controversy that goes into the agriculture industry. And one of the hot topics of controversy is antibiotic use. Well, antibiotic use, most people think of, well, how does it affect humans? We eat those animals that have antibiotics in them. Well, what's going on in our lives and how do we pertain to what do we need to think about antibiotics? Well, our job as consumers is to become educated so that we know exactly what we're feeding our families and what we're putting into our bodies, and also we can advocate to others about agriculture. So the first thing about antibiotics that we need to know is what their purpose is. The first is disease treatment, disease control, and disease prevention. Disease treatment is as simple as it sounds. It's to rid the body of all bacteria and to treat the animal. Disease control is to restrain the disease or restrain the bacteria from not going to any other animal. When you think there's a lot of head of cattle in one certain area. If one member of the herd is sick, you're guaranteed that multiple members of the herd are also sick. And for disease prevention, during the animal's life cycle and during different parts of the animal's lifetimes, they are very susceptible and vulnerable to diseases. Specifically in cattle, weaning is a very susceptible time for the cattle to get diseases. And so antibiotics are prescribed to prevent disease from contaminating the cattle at that particular time in their lives. Now we know what antibiotics are and how they are used, people need to think, well, what's the benefits and what's the concerns? Our first benefit is that obvious one. It cures and treats diseases. As a consumer, I take great comfort in knowing that my animal was of good quality and I'm not eating a sick animal. And I know that I'm sure y'all as well understand that y'all want to feed your families and you yourself want to eat good quality meat. Our second benefit is that it's a prevention of foodborne illnesses. A healthy animal means a healthy product. If we use antibiotics in the animals, then they will have less contamination for us. Our third is that there's more meat produced. Most consumers, when they hear that antibiotics are used in the ag industry, they think that it might be a steroid. It might just be for growth promotion. Well, think about it yourselves. If you have the flu or if you have a stomach bug, you're not going to want to move around, you're not going to want to eat, you're not going to be active. Animals are the same way. When they are sick, they don't want to roam around, they don't want to do anything. It means that they won't gain weight, they won't be active, and they won't have good quality muscle. Having antibiotics allows them to do that. Our fourth benefit is that it has improved animal welfare. When antibiotics treat the animals and give them good quality of life. And the last one is cost efficiency. Antibiotics allow the meat and products to go at a cheaper rate. Now, while there's many benefits, there's also a couple concerns. Our first concern is that there's a creation of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. However, most people think that it's the ag industry that's contributing to this, when in fact it's human medicine. Most people aren't responsible and they don't finish their antibiotics. They might be prescribed for 2 weeks, but they only take it for 1, and therefore there's more antibiotic-resistant bacteria in the environment. And the second concern is antibiotic residues on meat. How the government has a new residue program. It has been going through all these regulations to ensure that our meat is prime condition for human consumption. Antibiotic residues are little pieces of antibiotics that have been left on the meat, and that with the different government regulations, they specifically have a certain level of tolerance. Now, in order to decrease these tolerance levels, there's thing called strict withdrawal periods. It's the time that has elapsed from final treatment of antibiotics to the time that the animal is processed, where no antibiotics are given, so that they have minimal tolerance levels on the actual product itself. So we talked a little bit what the U.S. government is doing about antibiotic use in the ag industry. Well, we talked about the National Residue Program that controls residue levels, but also the new Veterinary Feed Directive. As of January 1st, 2017, farmers and ranchers are required by law to obtain a VFD, which is a cross between a permission slip and a prescription. Those pieces of paper are required for them to get antibiotics that are no longer over the counter, as it was in the past. Now, thankfully, our U.S. government has not put a widespread ban on antibiotics. But there has been another country that has, Denmark. In 2000, they implemented a widespread ban on antibiotics where they ended up hurting their ag industry more than they helped the people. There's an increased mortality rate, and there was even an increased rate of antibiotic resistance in humans, which was the whole purpose, was to decrease that rate, but it ended up increasing it. In the U.S., though, we have two companies that are on the fence about this issue. Tyson Chicken Company is a company that has now gone no antibiotics ever and will completely go antibiotics free in September of this year. Sanderson Farms Chicken is a company that uses antibiotics. Not only do they use it, but they advocate their use of it so that other people will be more educated and that consumers know that their product is of good quality. Now, I'm sure that y'all have seen, one of my favorite commercials is by Sanderson Farms. I'm sure y'all have seen The Marketing Guru and Mr. Floppy Arms. I wish I had a PowerPoint slide because I would show y'all the whole video. It's my favorite. But ultimately, when it comes down to this issue, we need to consider what is going on. We now know from everything that antibiotics is the clear choice for the ag industry. Antibiotics are so vital to the survival of animals and to make sure that we have the best quality for us. Now, I want to encourage y'all to be a consumer that is educated and to be a consumer that is also appreciative of our farmers. Our farmers work so hard for us, and we don't want to be a consumer that slaps the hand that literally feeds us. One of my favorite quotes is, once in your life, you at least need a doctor, a lawyer, a policeman, and a preacher. But every day, 3 times a day, you need a farmer.
Right.
So thank you.
Good job, Allison. Good job.
Give
So
me more antibiotics.
this is what you want to do.
Yes, ma'am.
This
So
is.